moving on to the Western Conference in the Southwest Division, we have the San Antonio Spurs. Are they buyers or sellers? I don't think they're anything. I think they're just going to stay put, keep doing what they're doing, and just keep on trying to challenge the Golden State Warriors. So that was quick. That was the San Antonio Spurs, everyone.
Yeah, let's move on. Next team.
The Memphis Grizzlies, are they buyers or sellers? I'm a little unsure. Going in, I was thinking they'd be buyers just because of Gasol's broken foot and them trying to stay in the playoff race. But they traded away Courtney Lee, and they got Birdman, P.J. Hairston, and 4 second-rounders. A lot of them have heavy protections on them, so I don't know if they'll actually see those second-rounders. But they do have some trade assets if they want to use them. I feel like Brandon Wright has a really nice deal. I haven't actually seen him much this year. I'm not sure if he's hurt or not.
He's been hurt for a while, yeah.
Vince Carter, he can still shoot the ball. He plays sparingly for Memphis, but he does have his contract isn't guaranteed past this year, I want to say. So he's there. Right. He's guaranteed this year. Next year is his $4 million is not guaranteed. And they also have Mike Conley, who they need to make a decision on. Just because he is a free agent this summer, he should get the max from someone. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. If they don't feel like they could re-sign him, they might try to move him. Haven't heard much rumblings about that. I think they'll end up keeping him through the deadline and trying to re-sign him. What are your thoughts, guys?
I think Memphis is kind of like Charlotte. I just think they're going to be they've been better, obviously, than Charlotte, but I think they're going to be a middle-of-the-road, or middle-of-the-pack team for a while. They have Marc Gasol, who's solid, but they're losing Conley. Zach Randolph is making a lot of money. I don't know if anybody wants that deal, and I'm not sure what other teams he would work on. He can't really play center. He's not a rim protector, and he's kind of a liability on defense against quicker forwards. So I think they're kind of in a sticky situation where I think they should sell, but I don't think they really want to. I think they kind of want to be competitive. But I don't see Memphis making any moves at the deadline unless they maybe trade, like you said, maybe like Conley for Dragic or something. They try to get rid of Conley. Maybe they see he's not going to re-sign with them or something.
Yeah, Memphis is definitely caught in a tough place with the Gasol injury. Like you said, I would think it would make sense for them to sell because there's no way they're going to get past San Antonio or Golden State in the West. I mean, it's even tough maybe to even see them get out of the first round. So, but they could try to move Conley. That Dragic trade is really the only thing I've heard of Conley getting moved. But other than that, it hasn't really been much. So I don't think Memphis really does anything else.
Oh, one thing we haven't said is Marc Gasol is out for the rest of the year. So they're definitely not getting out of the first round without Marc Gasol.
Yeah.
Is that confirmed? He's out for the rest of the year?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I thought I saw that he's out for the rest of the year.
Well, I thought there might be slight hope he could come back maybe in the playoffs, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they haven't actually confirmed it, but I've heard rumblings that he's probably out for the whole year.
Oh, wow, that's huge. It'll be interesting to see what Memphis does. Moving on, the Dallas Mavericks. Are they buyers or sellers? I actually have no clue. Zero clue of what Dallas is doing. I would say their goal is to keep pace in the playoff race because they're secretly not that great of a team. Their analytics don't really – their offensive rating, defensive rating, they're actually on the wrong side of that. So they have a negative net rating, which is weird because they're kind of a good team, but they're not really. They're kind of playing tricks on you. They do have some assets, though. Raymond Felton's been playing well. Zaza Pachulia's been playing well. I've also heard J.J. Barea in a decent amount of rumors. What do you guys think happens with the Dallas Mavericks?
Well, Dallas has just been the same team they've been since they won the championship. Last year they were really good up until they made the Rondo trade. But they're just a middle-of-the-pack team once again. Dirk's overachieving, but they're a team with some decent players, and they just happen to be really well coached, I think. Wes Matthews has been disappointing, but I guess that's to be expected since he came off the Achilles tear. And Chandler Parsons has been pretty good since he's got into more of a groove. I think Parth. I would like to see them blow it up. They just need to kind of restart Dirk. I just don't know how much longer Dirk's got left, and I like to see them restart and kind of just sell off some of these assets and get some picks, but or some young players because they don't have many young players. But I think Dallas is probably going to stay put. I don't think they have the moves to improve. They don't have the assets to really improve their team unless they get rid of someone like Wes Matthews or something.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see Dallas really doing anything. They don't have a lot of things they can move to get quality pieces back, quality young assets back. They could probably get some decent things, like you mentioned, Berea and Felton, but nothing of great quality. So I think it just makes more sense for Dallas to stay put.
All right, moving on. Houston, a team who's been welcome to the Dwightmare, Houston. This is what you guys are in right now. They're sellers, in my opinion. Some of their assets, they have Dwight Howard, who they could get rid of, or they're trying to get rid of. Corey Brewer is a possible asset. Ty Lawson hasn't worked out there. You also have Terrence Jones and Demo. Do any of these guys get traded by the deadline? Or there's a lot of rumblings about Dwight. Does he actually get moved?
Yeah, I think Dwight's the big I guess piece or whatever that's going to get moved from
the big fish. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, the big fish. I think he's going to get moved. I mean, he's an expiring deal, and I think a team that maybe is making a playoff push or sees them as a part of their future, they can sign to that five-year max, even though I don't think he's going to be worth a 5-year max. But yeah, I think Dwight's the only realistic. I mean, they got some other guys, but I just don't know how much they can really get for him. Like Demo, who's been injured a lot, and then Terrence Jones, I think, is in the last year of his deal. He's going to get paid a lot this summer. So I just wonder what some of these guys, what their value is. That's why I think the only realistic guy is probably Dwight.
If I had to pick a big name to get moved at the deadline, I'd probably pick Dwight. But other than that, like John said, the two power forwards are under expiring contracts. They don't really want to move anybody else unless it's to kind of facilitate the trade to move Dwight. So unless they move Dwight, I don't know if Houston really does anything.
Fair enough. New Orleans, buyers or sellers? I think they're sellers. I think their goal is to figure out what the hell works around Anthony Davis. They have some decent assets. Norris Cole has been playing well for them. He could be a great addition for any team that's looking for a backup point guard and looking to make a playoff push because he has the experience. 2 rings, baby. They also have Drew Holiday, who they could move. Ryan Anderson, who is possibly movable, or is probably their biggest asset aside from Norris Cole, and Eric Gordon, who I've heard could be part of a couple of trades. What do you guys think New Orleans does, or what do you think they should do?
They got to sell. I mean, they just don't have enough assets to reasonably compete in the West. Obviously Davis is a monster, but they've had a lot of injury issues. And if I were them, I would just be pretty much giving away Tyreke Evans. I mean, Jordan and Anderson doesn't really matter because they're going to be free agents. But in terms of cap space, I would just be giving away Tyreke. They need the cap space is important for them to put pieces around Anthony Davis and hopefully maybe get some picks or some young guys if you can trade away the expiring deals of like Gordon and Anderson. I think they got to sell.
There's one thing you said about Tyreke. I think he's hurt right now. I think he might be done for the year.
That's correct. He is out for the season.
He's out for the season. So I know John and I have talked about this before. I don't like Drew Holiday, or we don't like Drew Holiday and Tyreke Evans on the same team. So I think they need to pick one and try to move the other. Probably be easier to move Drew Holiday. I don't know if they want to do that, but that's the direction I would go. Keep
Drew
the other.
Drew Holiday's looked pretty good since he's starting to get more back into the group. He looked pretty good. I was watching him against someone last week or 2 weeks ago, and he was looking really good, like vintage Philly Drew Holiday.
Yeah, I think they want to keep Holiday. I think they've come to the consensus he's their second best player right now, and they want to keep him around. But for the most sense for New Orleans, it would make sense to sell, kind of work towards next season, get a high draft pick, and build going forward. Because obviously you just had too bad of a start to the season to really make any serious noise, and you had the injuries to Gordon and to Tyreke Evans. It's not going to get any better.
Wait, Nick. Bill Simmons proposed Eric Gordon and Tyreke Evans for Joe Johnson. Would you want Tyreke on your team as a Nets fan?
I mean, I guess that trade makes sense in a way. Joe Johnson expiring and Gordon is expiring. How long is Evans locked up? 2 years?
I think he's free agent after next year.
I don't think it's that bad. It kind of gives him at least some competitive players to put on the floor. But, I mean, if Brooklyn likes it, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the trade. I'd rather just wait out Joe Johnson's contract and take the cap space.
I agree with that. I would just wait it out as well.
I mean, it's like close to 25 mil cap space. You can't beat that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyreek is. I think he's a fine player depending on the role. Like, I don't think he's good as a starter for that team, but like depending on the team, kind of like in an Evan Turner role for Boston, if he can be a sixth man or come off the bench and play like 20, 25 minutes, guarding the opposing wings, like best player from time to time. I think that's where he would be served best. But I don't think he's a guy you can rely on to play 32 minutes and kind of carry your team.
Yeah, especially consistently.
Who's the point guard for Brooklyn right now?
Right now, it's Donald Sloan. Yeah,
and Shane Larkin, right?
Yep, Donald Sloan and Shane Larkin.
So in that sense, I would not. If you guys aren't able to get a point guard or a primary ball handler, I think Tyreek would be all right in that role.
I agree.
For Brooklyn.
I mean, he would be all right in that role, but I would rather take my chances. I mean, how far are you really going to go with Tyreek Evans as your point guard?
I mean, how far do you think the Nets are going to go without Tyreek Evans?
I would rather have the cap space and have the opportunity to go after somebody else instead of being stuck with a player that I know is not going to help me do anything going forward.
That's fair.
I'd rather have the opportunity to go after somebody else. Not saying they're going to land people in free agency, but flexibility is something they haven't had for like the last 3 or 4 years, so they need to definitely cherish it when they have it, the opportunity to have it.
Fair point.
Does that wrap it out for the Southwest?
It does.
All right, so we're on to the Northwest. First team I'm going to talk about is OKC. OKC is the third best team in the West. Some people think the third best team in the league. Likely they're not going to do anything. They don't want to mess up the chemistry. If they did do anything, it would probably be just salary dumps of Steve Novak, possibly DJ Augustine, but they might want to keep around his veteran presence for the playoffs. You guys think the Thunder are going to make any moves?
I mean, I think their best bet.
I don't think they're going to do anything. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think their best bet is to stay put, and I think they could use an improvement at backup point, like because Cameron Payne's a rookie. I think we talked about that earlier. But just to make it quick, I don't think they're going to do anything. There's some stuff we could talk about, but I don't think it's really worth the time.
Yeah, I think it's best for the Thunder to stay put. Next team is unique situation, the Portland Trail Blazers. They have $20 million of cap space, so that means they can take on a lot of contracts, be that third or fourth team in a deal, or they can just take on a big name. One name mentioned with the Blazers has been Joe Johnson with that close to $25 million a year. They could kind of take that on and send out maybe Gerald Henderson. What do you guys think about that?
I like Portland's. I mean, they're a really young team, but I think their issue is I don't think they're going to do anything before the deadline. I think they're going to wait until the summer. I think they need to move McCollum because he has a player option this summer or a team option this summer, and I'm sure the team's going to have him opt in. But I think they need to explore trading him in the summer. This isn't really a topic for right now since we're just doing trade deadline, but I don't think the combo of Lillard and McCollum works. So maybe you can test the waters and see what teams are interested in McCollum for the future, but I don't think they make any moves. They have some good contracts and some expirings, but I think they're going to stay put.
So one thing I wanted to kind of build on what John was saying with CJ McCollum. I'm actually a huge fan, but the Lillard McCollum situation kind of reminds me of Ellis and Curry in Golden State. So when I think in this situation McCollum is the Ellis. So I think moving him allows you to maybe get depth in other areas which you think you may need, and then you could possibly draft another two, or just have Alan Crabb kind of move into that role, someone with a little bit more size. While McCollum and Lillard are both great on-ball scorers, McCollum's one of the best one-on-one players in the league, but defensively, I think they're a little small, and I think people could take advantage of them in that aspect if they are able to make the playoffs, and that's their goal. So I think you have to trade McCollum eventually, just because of the defense. And they have a similar sort of scenario as to what Golden State did. Obviously, Golden State drafted perfectly, got Steph on a crazy deal, a crazy friendly deal, and it's history from there. But I think the foundation is similar, not the same, but similar to what Golden State had in like 2011.
No, I think that's a good comparison right there, and the fact that they're both two small guards. You can't really start both of them. It kind of hurts you defensively. It would make more sense to keep Lillard. Obviously, he's a better player, and kind of get a replacement at that two-guard spot, get some value for him while he's high. But I doubt that the Blazers will do anything right now. It'd probably be in the offseason when they made that move.
Agreed.
On to the next team. I know this is a team that John likes, the Utah Jazz. They've shown a lot of interest in Jeff Teague, kind of upgrade that point guard position for a playoff push. They do have some assets. They have Golden State's pick in 2017, OKC's pick in 2018, and they can move guys like Trey Burke, Trevor Booker, Alec Burks, and Joe Ingles. I mean, they have some options to move guys and still keep their core in place. Would you like to see him make a move and kind of push for the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I would, but the biggest issue with, I mean, they need a point guard, but the biggest issue I think is, their movable assets are Rodney Hood, who's playing really well. I don't think they would want to move him.
I don't think they move him either.
Yeah, and then Alec Burks, who was playing really well, but then he got hurt, and he's always had an injury issue. So I'm just wondering what realistically they would want to, like, what they could give up to get an improvement at point guard. I know we talked about before the show how I would like it if they went small and played Favors at center, maybe Lyles as a stretch four, and then maybe traded Gobert, even though he's got the potential to be one, the best shot blocker in the past 15 years, him and Whiteside. But that's the only issue is they got to trade one of those guards because they have a logjam right there, and I don't know if they'll get equal value in return because Burks has had the injury issues, and they probably don't want to get rid of Hood.
What do you guys think of a possible Burks and a pick for McCollum, and have McCollum just play point for Utah?
Burks and a pick for – so what pick would it be? Like one of their OKC or Golden State, or their pick this year, which would probably be like the 14th or like 15th pick, maybe something like that.
It's just the pick was more so. I know they do have a lot, of incoming picks. It's something that I feel like that could be negotiated, but the pick is more so because of Alec Burks' injury history. McCollum's had an injury history too, but Burks is out this year and McCollum's thriving. So I think that could be an interesting trade.
I like the deal, honestly. I really like that deal. I think it makes sense. It would give Utah another slasher, another shooter who they don't have. They don't have many shooters. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Utah would get their point guard in McCollum, who doesn't play point guard. He doesn't start at point guard, but I feel like he could do it.
He's not bad at point guard, though. That was the biggest thing with him, but he's actually not bad at point guard. And I think, again, surrounded by certain guys, I think he could be a serviceable point guard.
Right, and I think you still have that ball handling. You still have the ability to shoot. And then in that case, Portland gets their two guard. If he can stay healthy, who could be pretty good on defense and could also be a scorer on offense.
Yeah, I'm cool with that trade too. I think it works out for both sides. And McCollum kind of gives Utah that extra playmaking I think that they can use.
Agreed.
But I feel like Portland would not do that because the draft pick isn't high enough, and Alec Burks has the injury history. So what if they did straight up like Rodney Hood for McCollum? Do you think that's too much?
I don't think Utah gives up Rodney Hood.
I would not trade Rodney Hood. At this point, Rodney Hood is untouchable probably, unless you're getting back a really good asset. I know they think pretty highly of him, and he's shown a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think Rodney Hood, I agree with Nick. I think he's untouchable at this point. One trade that I know we kind of went over off the podcast, but just wanted to get your thoughts on it once again. What if there was a package with Favors and Hayward going to the Clippers for Blake Griffin? Who says no? Who do you think says no in that instance if someone does say no?
Nick, you can go ahead. I'm going to try
I think
Utah stuff.
Utah says no, I think, because I think they really believe in their core and they rather see these guys through. And I don't know if Blake would even really want to go to Utah. I don't know. I just feel like Blake wants to be in one of these big cities.
Blake wants to be the endorser, like in that one commercial.
Exactly.
All right, so you could do financially, it works. If you did Blake Griffin and Stevenson to Utah, and then Gordon Hayward and Favors to the Clippers, but I don't think the Jazz would do that. You know, I don't think it makes sense for them. I mean, Hayward has 3 years left. That third year is a player option. And I think Favors is really good. I would love to see him at center with the way the league is going. But I think Utah's got such a good young core. They just got make us like kind of nothing major, but something like you said earlier, like McCollum for Alec Burks in the pick would make a lot of sense. I think that would be a great trade for Utah. I don't think they need to do anything with like Hayward, Favors, or those guys.
Do you consider Favors or Hayward elite at their positions? Or do you think they have the possibility to become elite? Because I assume we all think Blake Griffin's an elite 4.
Right. I think they're both borderline. But Hayward is consistently healthy. Favors, I think, has been pretty healthy aside from this year. But that's the thing with Griffin. He's always got the injury issues. Seems like he's got some chemistry issues with team. I mean, he seems like he's off. Like there's like something off with him mentally. I think he seems like so angry. I don't think I would make the deal. I don't think I'll do it if I'm Utah.
And I'm not saying 100%, but you got to think not playing with Chris Paul is going to affect your game a little bit too, because Paul's setting him up in great position to score a lot of the time. But on to our next team. This is probably the most fun I had researching a team was the Denver Nuggets. They have so many pieces they can move. They have draft picks going forward. They have the right to swap the Knicks picks this year, a pick from Portland, Memphis. So a lot of stuff, and they got a lot of young bigs, Jokic, Nurkic. Teams are interested in Barton, Fareed, Gallinari. I mean, and Denver's been known to want to dump J.J. Hickson, so I think Denver definitely, if they don't make a move at the deadline, is going to make a move this offseason with all the assets they have.
So I think besides Boston, this is the team with the most assets. In terms of like the most tradable assets, I think this has got to be the team besides Boston. I mean, they have, like you said, they have so many young players, and they got three young centers with a lot of potential. I think Jokic is off limits. There was that trade that supposedly the Clippers proposed with Griffin and Stevenson for, I think it was Barton, Jokic, Fareed, and Gallinari, which is a lot. I think if you substitute a couple guys for the Nuggets, the Clippers do that. I mean, I think they're going to make a move. I just don't know what they're going to do. I'd like to see them get a star, but I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah, I'm with that as well. They have a lot of players that are solid. They're on solid contracts. They're also productive, and they could really help a team in need. But they also, like, when all of them are together, they're kind of what you get in Denver. Like, it's kind of like the Boston. Like you're right. It's kind of like the Boston of the West, except for they don't have Brad Stevens and they aren't winning. So. They do have a lot of players that could possibly be moved, and just because of that alone, it's impossible to kind of narrow it down to I think this person is going to move, just because there's so many different people.
If I had to pick a direction for Denver, I think the best bet, maybe not grab a star and try to move some of these assets at like the draft time and try to move up into the lottery and get maybe a second lottery pick, because I think they have a lot of great young potential on the roster, but those players are still a year or two away. So even if they did grab a star, I don't know how much that would really help them win in the West.
What about a deal centered around Jokic, maybe like Kenneth Fareed, and I wish Wilson Chandler was healthy, because I think it would make this deal, or maybe Gallinari. But you throw those guys in there in a deal for Boogie. You get Boogie in Denver with Mike Malone again, and then you get Kenneth Fareed, who could be George Karl's kind of like Sean Kemp. Do you think that's something that could happen? Like, do you think Jokic is good enough to make a deal like that happen, or do you think that maybe they don't even want Boogie?
I think Jokic is good enough to where Denver would not want to do that trade. I think it's the other way around. I
Okay.
think they're really high on Jokic and they don't want to move him because he's like the most talented rookie that no one talks about.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. Yeah, he's
He
been
can
probably
just flat out play.
if you did a redraft, he would probably be the third pick. I mean, it'd be Towns, Porzingis, and then probably Jokic.
Yeah, definitely he would be up there. Yeah, I mean, Denver might consider the trade just because Cousins is such a talent, but like Part said, they're really high on Jokic and they want to keep him. And they got the Blake Griffin offer, and that was the main reason they denied it was because of him. So I don't think they'll let him go. But this team's destined to make a move soon with all the assets they have. And then the last team for this division, the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's been some talk they would trade Rubio, but then it came out today that they're not going to trade him and they'll just wait to the offseason. The only other players that maybe could move would be Shabazz Muhammad, Payne, and who would we say off the podcast?
Kevin Martin.
Kevin Martin, yeah.
I think
Kevin Martin. There hasn't been enough interest really in Kevin Martin, I think, to move him. So, I mean, if I had to make a guess and put money down, I'm saying the Timberwolves stay put. There's really no point in them making a move. They're not going to get anything that's going to help them that much, and they're not going to make the playoffs. So,
yeah, I think they stay put, and it's hard to really judge this team because Sam Mitchell's such a terrible coach. He seems like a really nice guy, but this is supposed to be Flip Saunders' team, and obviously that unfortunate event happened. So, I think they stay put. I just think they're going to maybe wait until like next trade deadline or maybe to the off season to like get a good coach in there and see how everything unfolds there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So on to the next division, the Pacific. First team we'll talk about, Golden State. We don't have to talk about them. They're not going to make any trades. Anything, it's a salary dump. Nothing significant. On to the next one. The next team, the Los Angeles Clippers. This is an interesting team. A lot of people, I mean, the Clippers have come out and said they're not trading Blake Griffin. Doc Rivers, I think, said today that they weren't trading Blake Griffin, but they've offered other teams deals with Blake Griffin. So, do you think the Clippers trade Blake Griffin?
I think they're gonna wait till the summer. I think they're gonna ride unless they get like a Godfather offer kind of. I think they're gonna ride it out. And then they don't really have enough. They don't really have many other assets. Tradable assets that could possibly, they'd want to move before the deadline to improve their team for the playoffs. So I think the Clippers are going to stay put.
I think they're going to stay put in terms of Blake, but looking at Woj's Twitter account, there's rumblings of a Channing Frye, who I mentioned earlier with the Magic, as a possible asset for them. He could be going to the Clippers, and it makes sense. Doc got Spencer Hawes to play that kind of role, and Doc didn't like Spencer Hawes, so he traded him. So he's trying to get that same kind of stretch 5 kind of player, and Channing Frye's available, and I think that deal could happen as early as Wednesday.
Yeah, that was. Well, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, Channing Frye got that 3-year, $8 million deal because of Goran Dragic. So I think him playing alongside a really good point guard like Chris Paul could totally, I guess, I don't want to say, maybe help him flourish is what I'm trying to say. Like, I think you could kind of reenact those Suns days from only a couple seasons ago. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And it gives him some versatility where they could, when they have DeAndre out, they could have him play some 5 and totally stretch the floor and open the lane up for guys that can slash like Stevenson and Crawford and Chris Paul.
Yeah, there's as well as another power forward. I saw a Real GM posted that they had interest in Thad Young, so that's another person. So maybe they're trying to add some depth. But the next team we'll talk about is the Kings, another team that conflicting reports. I mean, there's been talk of them trying to trade Cousins now. They're not moving Cousins. The only person, I think, Macklemore said that he wants out, and he's been trying to find a team that'll trade for him. But the Kings, I mean, a lot of drama out there. We don't really know. They don't have a good pick situation, so I don't think they make any moves. And if they did, they should get a lot of assets for Cousins, but I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah, I think they'll be sellers. And, the Kings have so many guys that they should have traded a long time ago. Cousins is a guy they should have traded a while ago. The fit's not working. McLemore, I think, still has potential to be a good player, but he's just not. I mean, it just seems like Sacramento, no matter where people go, it's just like a black hole that just totally destroys your career. And I think they're going to stay put, but they should sell. Maybe something small like you mentioned McLemore. That makes some sense, but I don't think anything big is going to happen like Rudy Gay or Cousins.
I think there's a higher chance of Rudy Gay than Cousins. I think
I agree.
Cousins is untouchable in that sense, but McLemore has been receiving a lot of buzz. I don't know if Marco Bellinelli has been getting trade rumors, or if he's been in any. But if I was a team that needed a shooter, I would go after Bellinelli. His deal I don't think is that expensive. But let me make sure.
I feel like it's somewhere like 3 years, $6 million or something.
Yeah, it's 3 years, $6 million. He's a free agent in the summer of 2018. I think that's a really good deal for what he does and the experience he brings playing on the Spurs.
Yeah, I was about to say championship experience.
Yeah, it was always surprised that he kind of signed in Sacramento because he definitely could help a playoff team. But in the next team, the Phoenix Suns, definitely a letdown this season. They have some veterans they like to get rid of. Tyson Chandler's terrible contract, Markieff Morris, and P.J. Tucker. Tucker probably has the most value out of the three. They're asking a lot for Morris, a first-round pick and a young player, when they have no leverage at all. Do you think the Suns kind of make a trade this year, or they just wait till the offseason to move Morris?
It's like it's available besides probably Bledsoe. And I think I've heard even Knight is available. Which is just ridiculous considering they just signed him and they could have gotten that Lakers pick. I think they're going to sell. It just makes sense to just kind of blow it up. I mean, they've already gotten rid of the coach.
Yeah, Jeff Hornacek did not deserve to get fired. It's not his fault. Is it Ryan McDonough who's the?
Yep, that's the general manager.
Yeah, he's the GM. He kind of ruined it with last year, with bringing in Isaiah Thomas and moving Goran Dragic to the 3. It just didn't make – it sounded cool. It sounded like a video game sort of thing, but just didn't make sense. But hindsight is 20/20, of course. The Markieff Morris trade, I want them to move him because he's really good. He hasn't been great this year, but he's been really good in the past, and he has a really nice contract, so I feel like he could help. I know Toronto's not interested, but I feel like he could really help Toronto. He could really help a team like Cleveland. And anyone else who really needs a 4, I think he's the prize 4 on the market. But like you said, the Suns are asking for a little bit too much. I think he does get moved. I think the Suns will end up coming down. It'll be one of those trades that kind of happens right at the buzzer, right at the deadline. So I'm looking for Markieff to get moved. Maybe to Detroit, but now with Tobias Harris already in there, I don't think that happens. But that would have been cool to see the brothers together again.
Yeah, I think that you're right, though. I think the Suns will come down to it at the last second, and they'll be like, all right, we need to move this guy, get the assets while we can, because who knows, he could lose more value as the season progresses. He has another outburst, it doesn't look good. They lose even more leverage. And his contract's so favorable, so you have to try to. And I think before the All-Star break, he had a few good games. Other than he had that little fight with Archie Goodwin, he played well on the floor.
Yeah, he's been getting better as he's been getting more consistent playing time now that the new coaching staff is in there.
Yeah, with Earl Watson, I think's helped him out a little bit. But on to our last team of the podcast, the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers I don't think the Lakers will do anything. They could maybe move some of their veterans like Brandon Bass, Lou Williams, and Roy Hibbert. But I don't know how much they'll really get for them. All their young assets they probably want to hold on to for the future. So not really much going on in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're staying put. Something I wanted to bring up, though. The Clippers, I just saw an update saying that they're nearing a deal to acquire Channing Frye. So something I wanted to mention. But, yeah, I think the Lakers just don't have really any assets. And, I just don't know. I don't think they're going to do anything. They're going to stay put and just kind of just be really, really bad and get a top pick. Dude. What's the deal with their draft pick? It's like it's protected, right? Top 1 protected or something, or top 2?
Maybe protected 1 through 3, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's something. It's like It's nothing more than I think a 1-3 protection, so they need to do bad.
Yeah, it goes to Philly, right? From that,
It's protected for selections 1-3 in 2016, 1-3 in 2017, and unprotected in 2018.
Oh, so they need to do right. So, yeah, so they want to do really bad. Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yep. So I agree. I don't think they're doing anything. If they do something, maybe Kobe to Philly for all those picks. Kobe to Philly for that 2016 first rounder. Philly get some people in the Wells Fargo. No, but
maybe 5 second rounders.
yeah. They're not doing anything.
And I was. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it cut out for a second. I think I feel like this entire Lakers, like with how they're not playing their rookies, and it seems like they're just letting Kobe do his thing. I feel like it's all a ploy to just suck more and more, because like they don't want to develop the rookies, they don't want to do better because they want to. The incentive is just to suck and get that a top 3 pick, and I feel like they don't want to do good.
I mean, it's not even like the rookies haven't made strides. Like, Russell's way better now than he was when he started. But they're still losing. That's the point.
Right.
And I'm also of the believer that, I think Steve Kyler mentioned this on Twitter, that players when they're young learn more from practice time than they do from actual game time. In practice, you get to work on things you're not good at. In games, you can't do that. You do what you're good at, obviously, because it matters. So I think behind closed doors, the Lakers picks are getting better. It'll just be a matter of getting the confidence and the game experience in the years moving forward. So I don't know if Byron Scott has like a deal with the Lakers, like, hey, we know, like, because it's a weird situation, because as we know in the NBA, coaches are fired regularly. So could it be a thing where Byron Scott's like, hey, Kobe's my guy. I don't really care about these rookies. I'm just going to do what I need to do to get Kobe his last hurrah, and then they're going to fire me anyways, regardless of whether I do well with the rookies or not. It could be one of those situations, but obviously we don't have sources. Just like Chris Broussard doesn't really have sources inside the Lakers organization. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if Chris Broussard had sources, we probably would see about 50 more trades go through than actually happened.
True that.
But I think, like, I wonder if Byron Scott is almost like intentionally throwing games. Like, I feel like he went to the finals with the Nets. He had some really good runs with the Hornets when they had like Chris Paul and nobody else.
David West, man, give David West some credit.
David West and then Tyson Chandler. So they weren't terrible. Mo Pete, I think Mo Pete was on those teams. Yeah. So like I just feel like, I mean, I don't remember too much of the NBA from like, because I was, like 10 years old, I feel like, or 12 years old during that time. And I didn't watch the game like I watch it now. But I feel like, is he always been like, I just feel like he was a good coach at one point. And it just, maybe the game has changed so much and they haven't changed their coaching style. I don't know. But it just seems surprising that he's just this bad on purpose.
Yeah, I think it's partially the game changing, and I think that maybe that team, like the Nets team, I know a lot of people said Jason Kidd really carried them to the finals. Like Byron Scott didn't do much, and it was really.
You got to the finals in spite of Byron Scott.
I know. I remember tweeting out when some of the things he'd done. I was like, yo, how did this guy take a team to the finals? Like, what is he doing? But God bless Laker fans.
Yeah, that was a sweep, right? That was the last Lakers championship with Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah, that was a sweep, and then they lost 4-1 to the Spurs.
Spurs, yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot they went the next year.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah,
back to back L's.
Wow.
Just like the Orlando Magic took in the slam dunk contest, back to back L's.
I mean, that Nets team really wasn't that great. Besides J Kidd, Kenyon Martin was solid, but like RJ wasn't. I think RJ hit his prime or hit his peak like a few years later when Vince was there. They didn't really have anything else, right?
Yeah, it was kind of just like old. They had Kerry Kittles, and it was a lot of Jason Kidd. So
Jason Kidd was such a monster. I mean, triple doubles every day.
But that wraps it up for the trade deadline special.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. If you like the podcast, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you see any trades come in, if you want to call us out on anything we said, feel free to comment. mention us on Twitter. Do whatever you got to do to get our attention. We appreciate you listening, and hopefully we have an exciting trade deadline. We'll see you next week.